The cowardly Katie Hobbs refuses to debate Kari Lake. And we've gone through this story. We read through all the back and forth, all the negotiations that took place. But we came to the final deadline. It's debate time. I mean, the election is right around the corner, and we've got to get into some serious substance, don't we? Well, if you remember that Kari Lake told Katie Hobbs, hey, I'll debate you anywhere, anytime, any way you want. You pick the moderator. You tell us what the questions. I don't care. And Katie Hobbs responded and said, oh, no, I don't want to show up and debate you. Why don't we do two separate interviews? You talk for 30 minutes and then I'll talk for 30 minutes. We'll both get opening and closing statements, and that's the end of it. Well, obviously, that's not a debate. That's two separate interviews, and you really don't want to do that. And so the Arizona Corporation, or the Arizona Debate Commission, they were tasked with holding a hearing to have a conversation about all of this. And we're on debate season. We're asking ourselves, is Fetterman going to debate Oz? Are we going to see some of the big sort of important races come to a head in any way, shape, or form? Well, let's see. This is a clip from the Arizona Debate Commission, and they're asking Katie Hobbs and her campaign manager, are you going to debate Kari? Okay, not separate interviews, not text messages, are you going to show up in a debate format and actually have a conversation? And let's listen to what the campaign manager for Katie Hobbs' campaign has to say.
Well, let me ask Demont, is there any scenario in which Secretary Hobbs will share the stage with Ms. Lake in a traditional, what I think we all can view as a traditional debate format?
Well, I'm not going to answer a hypothetical question right here, but if you want to lay out what that would look like in writing, we're happy to review it.
I don't think it is a hypothetical question. Is there any scenario where Ms. Hobbs will share the stage with Ms. Lake in a debate?
We would need to see what the details of that proposal in the
I
format.
want to share the stage.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure who that was, but do any other commissioners have any questions for Ms. Demont?
No, nothing else to ask.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Demont.
Thank you, Ms. Demont, for nothing, right? Shocking. It's like, hey, we didn't ask you a hypothetical. We asked you for your terms. What are your terms? Is there any scenario that you would like to see happen so that we could have an actual debate? Well, I'm not prepared to answer any hypotheticals. It's not a hypothetical. It's like tomorrow. What terms would you like to see tomorrow? And she says, well, I'd have to see it in writing. And so you can see the debate commission is kind of scoffing at her, right? Look at this guy, Talas, down here. As soon as Damien says, it's not really a hypothetical at all. Watch him.
Question right here, but if you want to lay out what that would look like in writing, we're happy to review it.
I don't think it is a hypothetical question.
Yeah, it's not. Talas has a little smile on his face.
Is there any scenario where Ms. Hobbs will share the stage with Ms. Lake in a debate?
Nope, there is not.
We would need to see what the details of that proposal in the
I
format.
want to share the stage.
Pathetic. And some weirdo is chiming in. I'll get on the stage with Kari Lake. Yeah, I'm sure you would. Now, after that conversation, after that hearing, there was a conversation amongst the debate committee, right? They said, well, what do we want to do? Do we want to have Katie Hobbs and do separate interviews, or what's the status? What do we want to do here? And so they decided against that. They posted on Facebook. They said the meeting included statements from both campaigns. All right. We talked to everybody here. You can watch the whole thing. It's a 2-hour recording if you want to see it. But they say today, the Arizona Commission voted to reject the request to replace the standard debate format, which is what Katie Hobbs wanted, with a separate 30-minute town hall style interview with each respective candidate. Like, that changed. We're not going to do it. The commission will give its staff and the campaigns of Katie Hobbs and Kari Lake 7 days to find an acceptable format to both parties. And Kari Lake has already said, well, what are you talking about? We have no issues with any of that stuff. So Kari Lake responded, actually, let's go over here. On September 11th, after the campaign election debate committee came out and said, no, we're not doing two 30-minute interviews, Katie Hobbs and her campaign came out and they released the following on 9/11 too. Shameful. It says Katie Hobbs and her campaign responds to the Citizens for Clean Elections. They say today, Secretary Hobbs' campaign manager, Nicole Lamonte, who you just heard, responded to the committee. They say Secretary Hobbs remains willing and eager to participate in a town hall style event, such as a forum she participated in last week, in which Arizonans were able to hear directly from Hobbs about her in-depth policy plans and how she would approach governing the state. Unfortunately, debating a conspiracy theorist like Kari Lake, whose entire campaign is a platform to cause enormous chaos and make Arizona the subject of national ridicule, would only lead to constant interruptions, pointless distractions, and childish name-calling. Arizonans deserve much better than Kari Lake, and that's why we're confident Katie Hobbs will be elected our next governor. We must respectfully decline the invitation. And that wasn't very respectful. That's not a very respectful declination. She's a psycho conspiracy theorist who's causing chaos in Arizona and embarrassing us all. I guess it's a respectful declination to the committee, but it's kind of a rude declination nonetheless. Okay, so absolutely is not willing to debate. Pretty cowardly thing to do. And let's see what Miss Kari Lake had to say in response. Kari Lake responds to Katie Hobbs running away from a debate. She says on September 12th, "All right, election committee, we were disappointed to hear over the weekend that Katie Hobbs has yet again turned down the invitation from your committee to join the debate planned for October 12th. This is even in spite of the extension you granted her last week. It's evident that Hobbs has little regard for the mission of your committee and your desire that the voters of Arizona see two gubernatorial candidates, as you've done for decades." Kari Lake says, "It's also disturbing that Hobbs, who currently serves as our Secretary of State and the administrator of our elections, thinks so little of the voters in the democratic process that she would rob them of their one chance to see a fair and informative debate. This entire episode has been increasingly and incredibly revealing of Hobbs's character. Hobbs is clearly afraid to debate Kari Lake, but given that Hobbs also refused to debate her opponent in her primary, we suspect she has a paralyzing fear of being challenged on stage by anyone who might question her record. That fear may be understandable, but we believe it is a disqualifying trait for someone who is asking to lead Arizona in a high-profile public office for the next 4 years." Kari Lake and her campaign, they say, "We are writing to inform the commission that, despite Katie Hobbs' refusal, Kari Lake still plans to attend the debate moderated by Ted next week. However, we are also asking that the committee approve another extension of the deadline you set for Hobbs and extend the invitation, keep it open." Kari says, Kari Lake will not protest if Hobbs agrees to show up for the debate in the 11th hour, even if it's the day of. I don't care. It is our hope that the commission won't care either. While we understand that a last-minute reversal by Hobbs would pose logistical challenges for the committee and Simmons, we believe that the prospect of an actual debate between two candidates is too important to the people of Arizona to allow artificial deadlines to get in the way. It is our hope that Hobbs will have a change of heart and find the courage between now and October to join Kari Lake on the debate stage and have a real discussion about the issues facing Arizona, their plans to address them, and their vision for our state's future. Either way, we look forward to working with the commission on putting together the closest thing to an actual debate that the people of Arizona can get. Thank you, Kari Lake, for governor." And, I'll be there. I'd love to be there. I'll be there, and I'll be happy to talk to Katie Hobbs if she shows up, which we know she probably will not. The polls, meanwhile, are showing that things are getting close, which is causing people like Chuck Todd over at NBC to get a little bit concerned. You can see from 538, they've got a little bit of an analysis here for us. Let's turn off the, we'll leave that on. They say it's a toss-up now in Arizona. Kari Lake wins 47 and 100, and Katie Hobbs win. They're reporting 53 in 100. So it's a nail biter, my friends. So if you know who you are likely to support, now's a good time to do that. Kari Lake catching up to Katie Hobbs, and we're hoping for a good victory. Meanwhile, people around the nation starting to notice that Katie Hobbs not that great of a candidate. Here's Chuck Todd and the crew over at NBC having a conversation about just how bad of a candidate Katie Hobbs actually is and why she might need to step her game up before she gets steamrolled by the Kari Lake train.
But I came away believing Mark Kelly is stronger than I thought, and so is Kari Lake.
Being on television, Kari Lake, being a former TV anchor for, 20 years,
Yeah.
there is a sense from voters that I know this person and whatever is being said about them and attack ads, etc. Well, maybe that's true, but maybe it's just politics. She can't be like that because she's been in my living room for the last 20 years. So she has a benefit there.
So you watch that in a vacuum and you say, well, Kari Lake has to be down 10. And you're right. And you see the polls and it's neck and neck. And Cinema is a political talent. I'll give her that. But Katie Hobbs is just not a good candidate.
Oh, Katie Hobbs is not a good candidate. And I'm not sure what kind of bubble that guy's living in, but Kari Lake seems like not like she'd be down by 10. It seems like she'd be up by 10. I mean, you at least hear from Kari Lake. You don't even hear from Katie Hobbs at all. Even the people at NBC are concerned about Katie Hobbs and her ability to win in Arizona, which is good news for Arizona.